So, say a few words about the Climate Center, because I think it's important for us to understand how relevant it is to have a climate center like ours in the LA region. President Limbaugh, who you just heard, is a champion for climate change, has been working in this space and championing climate action for many, many years. This college it remains the only college that has a climate studies program at a community college, so this is pretty remarkable, and it was an effort that was spearheaded by President Limbaugh with support from amazing faculty that teach here, and of course the fantastic staff that we have here. So we're all here with this shared vision for the future in which we can support the champions that are already doing the work, such as you all, right, out there in the real world. I come from a background in science, but for many years I have also marched alongside many of you who are here. Where is the climate strike?
They're
yes.
going to come back.
So I think that for me that is clear to me that the work that you are all doing, and I'm meeting some of you today, but I know of your work, that work that you've been doing in the real world, it's time for us to be able to utilize the support from institutions like this one to give you not just visibility, but also an opportunity to continue the education that is possible, right, for all the new people coming in. So again, I'm going to emphasize what President Limbaugh just said. Come to us. We have here opportunities to, like I said, support the work that you do, and then bring your friends. Let's bring new people into this space. You're not alone. I know that a lot of the work that you do is labor of love, many times without the proper support and the resources, right? And now we here have an opportunity to change that. That's what's needed, right? Okay, so with that, I want to talk a little bit about our internship program. We have an exciting summer internship that's going to be happening. It's already, the training phase is already started, but it's not too late. And we have staff here that can tell you more about how to participate. And please help us spread the word and tell people that this summer, if they want to be working with climate action, we can pay interns to be placed in business, nonprofit organizations, public offices, and they will then learn about possible careers in this space. And then the other thing I want to talk about is that we do offer a number of amazing courses, some of them completely free, here at West LA College. So if you're interested in learning more, so we have a lot of non-credit courses that are completely free, and it's a way for you to get to know the college better. We also have a lot of what we call here services, student support services that can help identify funding, support for those who want to maybe pursue a degree. And in that case, that would not be free, but we can connect you with the systems that will create the possibility for you to attend college without, getting yourself into huge debt. That's, something we also need to change in education. So here's a space for those things to happen, right? For change to actually take place. All right, did I forget anything? No? I have one more thing. Someone that you all, probably I think all of you now know, Gayatri, is someone who put their whole heart and amazing brains too into this, organizing this event. And it just so happens that this is the celebration of their latest trip around the sun. So we have a little gift that we would like to present to Gayatri to celebrate them, to celebrate the work they do. And happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Hello everyone! My name is Gayatri. I use they, them pronouns. Really, really exciting that you're all here and supporting this amazing initiative to learn more about sustainable fashion, how important it is as a solution in preventing climate change. And yeah, we have some lovely panels that we're going to be doing today. I think this space is a community that's growing. The California Center for Climate Change Education. I'm an intern here at the moment. And I'm also a climate activist and do a bunch of other things. I'll be speaking on the second panel. But did you know, raise your hand if you know it's Black Climate Week. Awesome. Yeah, so like half the people here. It is Black Climate Week, and we need to understand that Black-led climate solutions are really important. And this entire crisis is about social justice as well. It's not just about animals and the non-human world, but we're all interconnected. So our first panel is going to be one with Black women and femmes in this space, and we'll be hearing about Black-led solutions. So I'm going to be giving it over to our lovely 5 panelists, and welcome on to the front, everyone.
As Gayatri said, I'm T Essence, and then we have the rest of our panel here, and I will let you introduce yourselves, but I would love to introduce yourself and your pronouns and your work. So T Essence Minnitee, she, her pronouns, and I work with Black Girl Environmentalist, and I also work in the entertainment industry as well.
Thank you, T Essence. My name is Unique, she, her pronouns. I also work with Black Girl Environmentalist as well as Collective Fashion Justice. So I'm really passionate about connecting issues like animal rights, social justice, feminism, and environmentalism. And we happen to be here.
Hello, my name is Valerie. I go by she, her pronouns. I work in reproductive health. I have a period care brand called Riff Care. There's actually samples in that bathroom over there. And I also started an ethical talent agency called Role Models Management. We now do consulting for sustainability initiatives, and I'm happy to be here, so thank you.
Well, hello. I am Ekco, Raven Merkwood. I use they, them pronouns. I work with a nonprofit organization known as Nature Nexus Institute, and I also help out here at West LA College.
So would love to hear about your relationship to fashion. I know you mentioned a little bit, but if you want to go a little bit deeper for all of you guys, what your relationship to fashion is.
And so I would say I got into kind of like the world of sustainable fashion way back in high school over 10 years ago when I started getting into environmental justice issues. I'm born and raised in Compton, California. And I just started noticing a lot of issues with like pollution and animal rights. And I started thinking, well, how can I make personal changes to kind of make a better impact in the local community and also just globally with how I was consuming. And I kind of started seeing, well, fashion and what I wear is one of the kind of easiest and first steps I could take. So I started really focusing on, well, secondhand clothing and sustainably made clothing and clothing made by folks, you know, who are being paid a fair wage. And I always kind of loved fashion, and it was really a fun journey learning how to, I guess, create my own style and my own aesthetic. So combining that all with kind of my passion for social justice, I just really started to kind of try to connect the dots by learning more about the industry and how I can be a part of it. Like, I'm not like a designer or I can't even like sew or anything. I'm working on that. But I do like connecting it to my passion for like veganism and feminism again, and like just like racial justice. So over the years, I've really focused a lot on secondhand clothing and making the connections between like climate change and the fashion industry, which is like really huge, but like people don't think about. So yeah, so I really love like clothing and shopping, but try to do it as ethically as I can. So that's brought me here today to where I'm working with Collective Fashion Justice to try to make that connection between the industry and these issues we're all really passionate about.
So my introduction to fashion came very young. I started modeling when I was 2 years old. And also I hate shopping, which shocks people sometimes because they're like, you seem like a fashion girl. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not. I wear like the same 10 things and they're all from the thrift store. But yeah, as I got into modeling, I just kind of realized like, wow, there's a lot of waste. And also there was this thing that always happened. I was behind the scenes where I would model for like Gap or Old Navy, and they would sew the clothes, and the clothes that I was wearing on set would be better materials than the ones they'd be selling in the store, which most people don't know. So this is something with, you know, overconsumption, right? Because you're thinking you're buying one thing, but you're getting it and it's crap, so then you throw it away, or it goes into the system, and then it goes into the landfill. So I started being very aware of that. And when I was in middle school, which was a few decades ago, actually, when you said that, I was like, oh, you guys are young. I have, like, definitely have stepkids older than you. But I started thrifting, and then I went into high school and I took sewing and design for 4 years. Ended up getting accepted to fashion school, didn't end up going, but just kept working in fashion. And I started the talent agency, which is Role Models Management. We were actually the first ethical talent agency, and we represented climate activists and social justice advocates. So every time Nike or someone had a campaign, and they were like, oh, we want to do a sustainability campaign, we would coach them on, you know, the dialogue they would do and the posts they would do, and like, can you really use sustainability activists? Like, does it make sense? Or is this like a BS campaign? And they would pay us to be like, this is BS. You know, we don't want any more like Pepsi, Kendall Jenner situations happening, if you guys don't remember that campaign. So that was my job. And now something I do is I source sustainable textiles for period care. So we make period underwear, which is made out of hemp, and my whole entire brand, Riff Care, we make our period products out of hemp fiber. So how can we even go beyond sustainable, beyond organic, and now move into regenerative materials? So I try to educate about all this stuff on my TikTok, at Malibu Mama, if you want to follow me, and on all of my platforms. So whether it was Role Models, which is, like I said, transitioning right now to being a consultancy, or Riff, just trying to tell people, like, yes, you can be cute and sexy and fun, but also, like, number one, it's not cute, sexy, or fun if it's not sustainable.
So my introduction to fashion was when, I guess, I was in the very youngest parts of middle school, because, well, there have been, I'm born and raised in Texas, especially in the southern portion near Houston area. I noticed a lot of kind of, let's just say, unethical ways of having clothing we use. You would have, like, as one of the panelists had said, that they have better materials for, I guess, the models as opposed to people. And I got to take a trip with a couple of friends to kind of where they produce the clothes, and I was like, this is, I was like, these people don't have really good conditions, and, you know, it's like, we can do better, for sure. And then, fast forward a little bit, I'm here in California, and this is kind of where I kind of took off and blossomed, because I will admit that as a transgender myself, it has really helped me out in discovering who I am as an individual, being able to be comfortable in my identity as a person, and also, you know, I love nature, and nature is important not just for people, but just for, I guess, the mental health of others as well. And pardon me on this one. You'll have to forgive my nervousness. But
it's all right.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Oh, goodness gracious. But yes, yeah. Fashion is one of those things. There we go. I got it now. Fashion is one of those things that everybody can be a part of. Like, it does not matter your orientation. It does not matter your gender identity. It does not matter your skin tone. If you like the color purple and other people say purple does not look good on you, well, you know what? You wear purple. It is your favorite color, your confidence, and you wearing it will make it better, you know, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know, we can do better. We can do better, not just for sustainable purposes, for just the well-being of everybody else on this planet. We're all in this together, and, well, we can do better.
I just think it's so interesting that now it has become this, like, cool, like, I don't want to say like trendy, but like the cool thing to do. Like you said, like, it's not sexy if it's not sustainable. So it's like even defining my relationship with secondhand clothing and reclaiming it for myself as something to express myself and fashion to express myself, and not as a way of like, I had to do this because of my means, and reminds me of my socioeconomic status growing up. So I think that that's also a very powerful thing to like look at when you're thinking about your relationship with fashion and expression. Ekco, this question is for you. What does it mean to be outdoorsy and as a Black femme person, and how does it inform your role in the environmental movement?
So I'm an outdoorsy person. As I mentioned before, I am from Texas, so this kind of like one of the outdoorsiest places you can ever get to. I noticed I'll go a little bit back in time. I took a class in wildlife management, which was basically a class to teach you how to become a park ranger. And the textbook, I really wish I kept it, but this textbook basically had what you could hunt and harvest, and the proper weight, the proper means of going about doing it, and also if it was an illegal catch or illegal hunt, this is what you would do to bring it to the authorities and stuff like that. Now, in terms of sustainable fashion and stuff like that, you only need one animal to make one coat and stuff like that. We don't need to like have 20 in order to make one thing. So, in terms of how it influenced the environmental role of like, I feel like it's kind of a segue, as in like saying, I can do it, other people like me can do it. You know, like I mentioned earlier, is like it does not matter. It doesn't matter what your orientation is. You could still do environmental stuff. It's not just for one set of people. Everybody can be a part of the environment. We're all on this planet together, you know. I think there was a quote somebody had given me, and they were saying, if you're going through a hard time in life, just remember, we're all in this together. We all write our own story. So,
as an outdoorsy person myself, I think that the way that it's influenced my role in the environmental movement is similar to you. I grew up in an area that was very, that lent itself to like many outdoor recreational activities. I grew up on the coast of California and on the Central Coast, San Luis Obispo, if anybody knows where that is. But so that was just like part of my DNA. I think that something that has been so interesting to me is the way that I even got into the environmental movement was because I was outdoors so much. And then naturally you're like what's happening to these spaces? Like, I should know about this. I should care about this. And I think that that's a great way to get people who don't feel like they're supposed to be, or don't feel like they have a place in the climate conversation, to get them involved. Get them in the earth, get them in the dirt, get them caring about their green spaces, and then naturally they're going to start thinking about, oh, like, how are we protecting these spaces or not protecting these spaces? What about our air? What about these things? Because they are advocating for something that they are actively, engaging in and participating in. So that's why, my social practice is getting as many people in the outdoors and engaged in the outdoors and finding something that they're passionate about and liking. Therefore, then, like you said, doesn't matter what orientation you are, you can be a climate activist, you gotta find your own lane. So I feel like the outdoors is a great segue, and getting people involved in nature is a great way to do that, to start that journey. Val, in what ways can the fashion industry more effectively address issues of inclusivity and representation, particularly for Black women and gender-expansive people in the context of sustainability?
Okay, so I started in the fashion industry like in the early 2000s, right? So this is when like the only thing we saw was Victoria's Secret model, and like everyone was lighter than a paper bag. Like that's the only way I can explain what it looked like. And no one was even aware of sustainable fashion. And there I was in middle school, and like I grew up at the beach, and I still hold beach cleanups, and I still post about it in my stories. I'm like, I'm cleaning the beach today if anybody wants to come. Like you talked about that outdoorsy stuff, and I was like, posting these pictures on my MySpace at the time. Like, look what I found, like an entire, aging myself, but like an entire shipwreck of like t-shirts washed up on the beach, and I would be talking about this stuff, and that actually prevented me from being able to get certain modeling jobs at the time. And so I just kind of realized that if you are outspoken or different, even in the industry now, like I think with social media, you're able to have a more expansive presence, but still in fashion, it is a little bit more difficult. So I think that the emerging artists that are coming along, like the, you know, whether it's in beauty or fashion, that are all sustainable, like clean brands, and then they're choosing to then use influencers and models who are completely about, you know, sustainability, clean beauty, etc. Like that is the way that we're spreading the message. I also think that I meet so many people who are like, I don't have a voice and I can't, you know, talk about X, Y, and Z. And like, do you realize that just you talking about your outfit choice for the day and the materials in your outfit, even if 300 people get reached, like 200 people could not shop at Target, Cat and Jack tomorrow? Like, that's how big your voice is. Like, we don't think we're making a difference, but I think when we started Role Models Management, we didn't think we were making a difference. And then like IMG, CAA, these companies started knocking on my door. And I had a completely, like, I never raised money for the company. Like, we were very small, but they were like, I would like my clients to work for these sustainable brands with your company's, you know, name behind them as the agency, because we're not there yet. It wouldn't make sense. So I think also with a lot of models and influencers, you know, for me, I choose to work with smaller brands who don't have bigger budgets. And I'm not always going to say, like, I can do a free post for you, but yes, I will always try to include that in my messaging because I know you don't have this huge budget. So even, you know, me putting an extra money aside every single month to shop sustainable brands, and that's just like at the grocery store, right? If I need to replace a hair product, or if I'm like, my heel broke or whatever, I'm gonna make sure that I'm looking at the tag, I know who's behind it. It's very easy to just go into the store and just pick something up, but it does take a little bit more, you know, brain power to go and do that. So that's why also if you have any type of platform, just sharing, like, look at this amazing Black-owned fashion brand that I found in, you know, even if it's an accessible place like JCPenney or Macy's or whatever, like they make small batch things. I found someone on Etsy, I found someone on Depop, like, let's share about that because, you know, these brands also don't have like the biggest marketing budget, so I feel like my answer is all over the place, but yeah.
And then for everybody, how does the Black Femme experience and cultural heritage influence sustainable fashion and environmental activism?
My parents are immigrants, so it was very much like what you said, the thrifting out of need. But I felt like I was always having to, I don't know, like make my mark in a different way in fashion, right? Because I knew that I wouldn't be like accepted. And I'm saying this as someone who was like traditionally pretty and grew up modeling and everything. I still knew that there was always going to be this thing where I was different. So I'm like, why don't I just kind of take that and run with it? So, okay, I'm going to be the one who works with my friends who are making things at Santa Monica College, because that's where I went at the time. And I'm just going to use my platform in a different way, because I think my friend was even saying, she was like, look at Black sustainability on YouTube. And I was looking and I was like, oh, there's like 4 people. You know, it's still like not enough representation. So I think we should be taking it upon ourselves to be sharing about what we know. Everybody in this room is here because you probably know or you want to learn. And it's really important for you to share this experience with other people who look like you, because they don't see it. When you type in sustainability on YouTube, 9 times out of 10, like I'm looking at this room, you will not see someone who looks like you. So that's why it's important for us to like do the work and put in the effort.
I think about innovation in the fashion industry that comes from like Black women and Black folks in general, like that's not often credited, but that we do contribute, like stuff that I have considered like maybe like ghetto or like not classy enough, but then it's become more mainstream. It really gets picked up by a larger audience, and it's seen as very innovative and very like trendy and beautiful, and how it just kind of like it's the ideas and a passion that Black women and femmes are, have behind that to like bring these styles into vogue or into like fruition, like just from like what we have, like you know, growing up in Compton, you know, like pretty much all of us are like low income, or you know, like we're not like shopping, you know, like these name brands, but being able to just like create from our own communities and like make stuff that's really beautiful and really powerful, and that you really have to eventually become popular by a lot of that other folks' standards. I think it's really, really amazing. And when it comes to sustainability, I think we're seeing a lot more of us, not enough, like it's not enough at all, but make that connection between like being innovative and like our culture and what we can create, and making sure that we're really following environmental justice kind of like principles when it comes to that creation. So that we're really taking a step back from like buying things, that are really cheaply made and, not made by us and for us, and saying, well, how can we bring this back into our community and have our own folks, create this by hand, How can we have, more like Black-owned, sustainably owned, fairly made and created fashion. I feel like we have the ideas and we have like the passion, and we've been doing this, forever, but now how do we take that and really come onto the industry of sustainable, ethical, just fashion, and make a brand out of, make a company out of it, or just make a a locally owned little pop-up where we can really share that and appreciate that, while also really focusing on being more ethical and putting in those principles for being of sustainability. And without my answer for now.
I mean, how I think it affects is because I, as a femme individual myself, I will say I'm not that fashionable, but a lot of people will tell me otherwise, that I'm very fashionable, and I've now blossomed into that. Another thing is, I will mention clothing swaps are very, very, very helpful for people, especially those of the queer or trans community. Reason being is, if somebody is not, if they are going through transition, and they are, of course, outgrowing their clothes, like in case myself, I gave my clothes to somebody else who has a different body shape than currently right now, and it made them a lot happier. It kind of affirmed them in a way, and it made them a lot more, it made them a lot more comfortable with themselves as an individual, and comfortable with their identity. In terms of,
Yeah, of course. How does the Black femme experience and cultural heritage influence sustainable fashion and environmental activism?
Okay, there you go. Okay, oh, I almost stumbled. So I'm being a Texan myself. My family was not really. They were not really the sustainable ones. They were kind of more of the use kind of individuals. It was like, oh, you've grown like a couple of inches. Oh, here, we'll throw away your old clothes and go get you new ones and stuff like that. And it was like, there was a point where I asked my mother, and I also asked my father. I was like, why are you getting me new clothes when there are people who don't have clothes and stuff like that? Like I can go get hand-me-downs from other so-and-so, and they were like, oh no, we'll get you more clothes. And I was like, I don't think this is good for the planet. And then I started explaining, like, there are people who work really hard to make these outfits and stuff like that, and then you're throwing away what they made and then going and getting something else that they made and stuff like that. It doesn't make sense. But in terms of the environmental, I'll reiterate, I'll sound like a broken record at this point. It's like, everybody can be in the environmental industry. It does not matter your orientation. And I'll sound like a broken record, but I'll hammer it home. It's like, we're all in this together and stuff like that. So.
All of you kind of touched on this rich cultural history of Black people being sustainable without even really knowing it, and I think that that's something that empowers my my environmental kind of like justice journey, is realizing that I come from a very like rich line of like sustainability like masters, and I think like in the Black culture, like we experience a lot. We experience that and don't even think about that. Like, for example, like, you know, we all have that, save the plastic bags and then use the plastic bags for not only trash but our hair, and you know, so many different uses that you would not think to use a plastic bag for. Or why is the, you know, the Crisco butter never have any butter in it? It has everything but butter in it. It's like we reuse, like recycle, like we have a rich history of that. And I think that that is something that, as we are encouraging more people of color, and even more specifically Black people, to get into the movement, it's like, you guys have been we've always been part of the story, we've always been part of the narrative. We may not have been at the forefront, but we have a rich history of sustainability and you know, ingenuity when it comes to that. So I think that, like, our cultural heritage and experience as, you know, a Black femme, like that is what comes to me and kind of like empowers me to want to be at the forefront of this movement, because we truly are. Unique. How do principles of fashion justice intersect with the broader goals of social, animal, and environmental justice, especially in communities of color?
I guess I'll answer that in 3 parts, like social, animals, environmental. But for me, the fashion industry is such like a huge industry that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to like environmental issues or social issues. Because, you know, we go and look at the store, we see all these pretty clothes and stuff, but behind that, it's like one of the most destructive industries on earth. Like, I look like top 5 most polluting and most harmful. You know, it's a $1 billion industry, and it can do a lot of good, but what we're seeing is a lot of bad. So when it comes to the social, I would say like social justice is, we really focus a lot on who makes our clothes through every step of the process. So from the raw materials, you know, like who is drawing the cotton or the hemp, if for the few clothing items that are made out of that, or, you know, where are these, you know, animals coming from in the industry, like the cows, the sheep, who's sewing our clothes and making our garments, you know, in these like factories, and what communities are being impacted by the pollution created by these materials and these industries, and before they get to us. So I think a lot about that social impact of the people and the humans behind the scenes through every step of the process until we go to the store and buy that article of clothing. And most of them are being very negatively impacted, and we don't necessarily see that, you know, here, like here in LA when we go shopping, we pick out the pretty dress or whatever, but we're not seeing all the devastation and damage that's happening behind the scenes. So I believe to be at the forefront of fashion. Are people being paid fairly and equitably? Are there rivers and streams not being, you know, destroyed so we can have like denim and stuff like that? So that's really important social aspect of it, as well as I'm not going into too much right now, but we can also talk about things like appropriation, appreciation, and really making sure that folks are getting their due for coming up with these innovations we see in fashion, and not just be taken from communities, but folks are really actually being the ones to benefit from what they're creating. It's not just like extracted and then brought to these corporations, like these different styles and different like cultural, you know, like garments and such. When it comes to animals, that's a really important aspect that ties directly into what's environmental and even human. Like we're seeing now a lot of issues with greenwashing in the industry of like, of course we want to move away from these like petroleum-based and like, you know, synthetic fibers that are really damaging, and, you know, plastic pretty much and all that. We don't want to continue with that, but there's been a throwback of like, oh well, let's use just like wool and leather, and they're natural, they're regenerative. That's really not the whole picture at all. We look at the actual like impact that they have on the planet, and not just like, oh, we're using a product that's going to be killed or made anyway. It's like, no, we have to look at the impact on land and water and pollution. Then we start to see, well, oh, actually leather and wool and crocodile skins and like feathers and stuff from these animals that we're farming and on an industrial level is actually not sustainable. It's not ethical. And we should really look at what is actually sustainability when it comes to fashion, and what is actually natural and good for the planet and people. And that for me will be, like regenerative, like plant-based materials that are really, really important for the environment when it comes to fashion. And that, really take into account like water use, water pollution, land use. And like, of course, like we're not gonna use like conventionally grown cotton as the alternative. That's really, really damaging. But where do we go in the middle? And we're seeing a lot of this now emerging when it comes to really sustainable plant-based alternatives that are really, really amazing and really, really great for the industry. We've seen that come on to a larger scale. But yeah, I guess, for when it comes to sustainability, focusing on communities that are being impacted directly from the raw materials to the production to climate change. When we're talking about where shipping needs clothing, these clothes all over the globe, using really used materials that aren't sustainable, from animals to petrochemicals to even pesticide use on things like cotton. So yeah, that would be my answer. Like really to go about what I call like a total ethics approach. That's what the fashion justice focuses on a lot. We take into account animals, people, and the planet, and we don't leave one behind for the other. We really see how they're all connected to one another.
I like to say that Rosa Parks did the first vote with your dollar campaign, right? She led a very strong campaign, and you can see if you stop doing things and you stop buying things, companies have to change. There is no choice. And I have friends who go why would I stop buying plastic plates? They're just going to keep making them. And I was like, no, companies don't want to lose money. If you stop buying plastic, if 1,000 people stop buying them, they will make 1,000 less. And then 10,000 people, they will make 10,000 less. That's how I run my production, and that's how most companies run production when they don't want to lose money. So your choices do make huge differences, and this is why I say that using your social media, you think that because 40 people watch your story, it's not enough. That is more than enough reach to share just what's in your closet, just what's on your shopping trip, just what's in your, your ideas about Christmas shopping. I love sharing about Christmas shopping. People are you are so depressing. I'm like, I'm not buying anything new for Christmas. Do you need new socks or a new lunch pail? That's it. I'm that mom. But yeah, I do think that it's very important to vote with your dollar, and I think you can already see communities in which this happens, right? A lot of ethnic communities that really stick together and they share their dollars within their communities. We need to do that more in the ethical and sustainable communities, and buy less but buy better is my mission.
I think I'll add on to that is a couple of steps you can take is just also educating yourself about sustainable fashion and also the environment around you. The industry itself kind of affects the environment around you yourself. If you, as you said before, if you buy a pack of plastic plates, they're going to keep making plastic plates. If you buy 50 plastic plates, now they lose a little bit of money and they're like, oh wait, we have to do something different now. And let's just say now 1,000 people are you know what, these, one person says that, you know what, these plastic plates, these actually harmed my goldfish. This is just an example. And suddenly 10,000 people are you know what, that goldfish didn't need to be hurt. I'm not gonna buy from that company anymore. Now that company is oh man, we have to we had to rewrite our product. We had to do something to get money back. And then lo and behold, it's what was it? I think it was Sprouts or something like that. They people stopped buying a certain product. They took it off the shelf immediately, and they replaced it with something else, and then people started buying it. And then they took out more products that was linked to that item that nobody didn't want to buy, and they started putting other stuff outwards, or were more, quote, sustainable, and then people started buying it. And then it was wow, we actually really do have we the people actually have the power with our money, so we can make a change. It's baby steps, but we could still make a change.
I agree with that. I feel like the fashion industry is one of the few where we as consumers can really make a big difference. It's never just about, it's more than just about what we buy. With a lot of time when it comes to environmental issues, we need, of course, systemic change. There's just no change. But when it comes to fashion, it's really something where we can take an individual approach and make a huge difference. None of us needs to go to Shein or Fashion Nova and buy 20 outfits, every couple of months. That's completely unsustainable and unnecessary. But we have this mindset of like endless consumption. So I believe we ought to take a step back and say, hey, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. I have enough clothes in my closet, or I can make better alternative choices from like thrifting or investing in a quality piece from a sustainable brand. Like that's something that we can pretty much all do. Like nobody needs to consume on the level that the average person in the U.S. consumes when it comes to clothing and fashion. So we can all definitely vote with our dollars and just by making individual choices, in addition to more global change, of course.
I want to thank Unique, Val, and Ekco for your time today and your invaluable insight. Very grateful, and thank you all for your time and allowing us to hold space with you today. Really appreciate it.